So this is Business Unscripted with Shae Spitz, and I am here with Andrea Foley. She has a lot of different businesses that's going on, so we are going to kind of jump in and see what she has going on. Thank you for being here.
Of course, yeah.
Awesome,
Happy to be
awesome. Yes, so actually, the way you and I obviously met was a little less than a year ago at Bigger Pockets BPCon,
BPCon, yeah.
2021.
Yep.
That was fantastic. I really went down there knowing no one except for 𝐂𝐀𝐄𝐄 a little bit.
Yeah.
So it was a fantastic.
I was in the same boat. I knew nobody. I didn't even know Ted.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so
I did not know that. Really? So why did
all
you?
my Omaha people and Nebraska people
in New Orleans. That's funny. So why
yeah.
did you guys go then in the first place, or how did you get connected with everybody who was down there?
I think that Axel, my husband, had been in the RIA group for a while.
Okay.
And so I think he knew that there was a group going down because he was a member.
Yep.
And so like he knew Ted, but
yeah.
I never had met him because I'd never gone to the
yeah.
meetups or anything.
Really?
So
okay.
after we went, he's like, okay, you have to start going now.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not super extroverted, so it's a little harder for me. But
you're introvert?
Yeah.
You are?
Yeah.
Well, I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But yeah, so like I want to always go to the RIA events in Omaha, but it's kind of a drive, especially it gets late at night. And then you got kids. So do you go to majority of them?
We try to. Yeah. At least there's like 4 different opportunities a month to go to something real estate meetup related. So we try to make it to 1 or 2 of those a month.
Good. I made it to the one where you were speaking, so I did make it to that one. So
yeah, I remember you were there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about, I guess, what got you started in entrepreneur. Where did your life start? Were you always an entrepreneur? Or
basically, yeah.
Basically, did you ever work a W-2?
I did.
Okay,
but not since I was 25.
Dang, nice.
Yeah,
okay, well, you're only 26 now. So.
Yeah, I know. Right? Yeah. So my dad actually owned a construction company growing up. So being a contractor, it was a little more feast or famine in our household, like throughout the years. So that was my experience with it. And he worked obviously very hard. Like we lived probably an hour away. I would compare it to like maybe Omaha going to like outside of Fremont or something. You know, it was pretty far away. So he'd have to drive like an hour to work every day. And then
one way.
As a contractor, you start at like as early in the morning as possible before the heat kicks in or before, you know. And so, I mean, he was usually gone from about 6 to 6 or 6 to 7 every day, you know. And that was my understanding of owning a business. But like it never like bothered me, I guess. Like it was just what it was. And it was fun when he'd get big jobs and get paid and like we weren't broke, you know, during those times. So yeah, I mean, even in college, like I thought I had a career path picked out, didn't, you know, actually want to do that once I got into the real world. And I'd always worked retail, like throughout, you know, high school, college. I actually managed retail stores during college. So I worked full-time as a manager while I was full-time student. So my last one before I graduated college, I worked there for 3 years and just learned so much about small business. Like I knew all the things she did wrong, you know, and like some things that she did right. After college, moved out to LA and managed a retail store out there and learned again for a small woman-owned business. So I had 2 amazing mentors as far as like woman-owned business. And learned a lot more about what she did right, what she did wrong. And then came home and worked for a developer. So I did get to see, you know, from the more subcontractor side to the more like high level development side. And then I went back to retail. So I was in retail until I was 25. And then I decided to start a diaper service.
Oh my gosh, this is fun.
Yeah, out of my
diaper
basement.
service.
Yeah.
Really? So you quit your W-2 job and you're like, oh, I'm going 100% into this diaper service.
So I started it first. Just like, okay, let's see what happens. I don't mind doing laundry. So I have a $2,500 credit card. I can buy enough diapers to, wash other people's dirty diapers and out of my basement, and it'll be fine.
Oh,
And,
wow. So you were washing the cloth diapers,
mhm.
not even, okay.
Yep.
Okay. I was thinking you were
So
just selling diapers out.
I
Okay.
think I probably quit my job 9 months in to owning my
Really?
business. Yeah.
How did you even come about that business or a
Oh,
need
it's a
for it,
long
honestly?
story.
Okay. I was like,
I didn't
can't
have
say.
children,
Yeah.
so it was just one of those, felt like an opportunity,
Yeah.
so I took
Okay.
advantage of it. Then I got pregnant with my first
Uh-huh.
about 3 months after I quit that job.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
but luckily, 6 months after he was born, I was able to purchase Omaha's diaper service.
Oh,
So I had
okay.
grown it from no customers to, I think I was up to about 40 customers
Dang.
by the time he was born.
Uh-huh.
And then Omaha's diaper service had about 50 customers when I bought it.
Mm-hmm.
So I like doubled my base.
Yeah.
And then I think at my peak, we were up to about 120 customers.
Wow. And were you
Yeah.
still doing this out of your home?
Yes, until
were?
I bought
Wow.
Omaha's diaper service.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then I started sourcing out the laundry aspect of it to a
Wow.
commercial launderer.
Yeah.
And it was cool. They're a company that hired disabled people to
Okay.
have jobs.
Yep.
And so they
Yep.
would just sit and like sort the
Yeah.
diaper,
Oh my
obviously
gosh.
after they were clean.
Yeah.
And just like fold them and sort them and stack them for me and stuff.
Oh my
so
gosh.
yeah, so it
Wow.
felt good to like
Yeah.
kind of help, provide
Yeah.
more work for them. But
Well, and then also, I mean, you got the concept of being able to leverage your time too,
Yeah.
significantly.
Yeah.
Which is
Oh, God.
huge when it comes to entrepreneurship. And I think that's where a lot of people fail, is because they don't leverage their time, so then they can't grow, so then they stay where they're at.
Oh yeah. It
You
was
know?
a nightmare. Like
I
the day that
bet.
we started outsourcing, I was just like, I can't breathe. I was
Yeah.
doing about 80 hours a week of laundry in my basement.
That sounds, I
which
hate
was
laundry.
miserable. Like not just the laundry part, but being in your basement like 80
Yeah.
hours a week. It
Oh
just
my
sucked.
gosh.
But I
And then
learned
you had a
so
little bit-
much
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
business. And
Mhm.
that's when I learned QuickBooks, and that's when I learned, how to balance inventory and, just all the things.
Yeah.
So moved to Omaha and opened a retail store.
Mhm.
So that had been my ultimate goal pretty much the whole time.
Okay.
So my service was like a stepping stone
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah.
And then long story short, a lot of ups and downs in that endeavor. And just in April, I sold it.
So you owned it for how long?
So I started my service in 2007
Okay.
and opened my store in 2011. So
Wow.
11 years I owned my
Yeah.
store.
Oh wow.
Plus another 4.
And that was like a second act store, right?
Yeah. So it didn't
Yep.
start that way.
Oh, okay.
Started as a boutique.
Oh, okay.
But then like around 2016, when like Babies R Us and Toys R Us and everyone went bankrupt,
Mm-hmm.
that was like a result of just the baby industry
Yeah.
and kind of what had happened with. It was all like, so a lot of people don't realize that a lot of manufacturers, a lot of the goods supplied to big box stores are like small business owners.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't always know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so they all kind of at the same time started selling direct on their own websites and putting stuff on Amazon and doing Facebook ads and selling direct to consumer and like just all these things and like kind of cutting out their retailers. And so it just killed the industry. And so that's when we switched to a consignment store instead of a boutique, which was a weird, hard transition for me.
I bet.
And then, but much more successful. So
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of different avenues and routes that you go that I'm sure you learn more than anybody would working a normal regular job.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And okay, so what point in time did you say, yep, I'm going to go 100% like from your W-2 to this? So you've had a lot of changes, and I think that's a great example that I want to really stress to people is that you not only went from a W-2 job to working independently. What was the breaking point where you were like, no, I can do this on my own? Or why did you decide that you wanted to do it on your own, if you can remember?
So I remember I had 8 customers, and I just felt like there wasn't enough time to promote it. Working 40, 50 hours a week. And so I talked to my husband and I was like, what if I quit? Because I wasn't making that much money anyways, a manager at a big box store back in, 2000 2005 or 2009 did not make that much money.
Yeah.
And so I was like, can we afford for me to not work?
Yeah.
You know, and then because we knew we were going to start having like trying for kids. And so then I was like, I can kind of be this work at home mom. Like everyone thinks it's the dream, which is not my dream after doing it. I'm like, oh my God, this is so hard.
Nope.
Oh, it's so challenging. You're a better mom if you know, aren't cut out for it than realizing you're not cut out for it. And I realized that after 2 years.
No, I know that without even having to try. I know I cannot be a stay-at-home mom. Props to everybody out there who can, because God bless them.
So hard.
In-home daycares still no. God bless them too.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah.
No.
But yeah, so I had a huge support from him to just really try and grow that business. And honestly, like for 4 years, I didn't take any money out of it. I just let it grow.
Yeah.
Like you can't bootstrap a business and grow to 120 customers without any capital if you pay yourself.
Yeah.
So I just didn't pay myself. I just grew until I opened my store. And then when I opened my store, I'm like, okay, I'm going to commit to paying myself $500 a month. Like that was my goal at first. Yeah. And then quickly like raised that. But it was, luckily I had great support to like learn those lessons and get that experience that you can't get, like you said, in a W-2 that I would never had. And yes, I wasn't making any money, but like the money now that I've made because of what I learned.
Absolutely.
During that
the education is really where your tuition is. I mean, that's even like when you're shadowing someone or you're an intern, like the knowledge that you can gain from that atmosphere, especially if you're in the right atmosphere. You can be in the wrong one, but at least if you're in the right atmosphere, you are going to grow so much more. So like people, I mean, going to the conferences that we've been to a couple of them, obviously, and it costs money. Most people are going to see that and be like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money. I can't attend it. But then I think entrepreneurs who truly want to grow, they see it as an investment. It's not an expense. It's an investment into yourself, which is the best investment that you could do.
Well, and I don't know about you, but every time I've gone to a conference, something has happened afterwards that has paid for going to that conference. So
whether it's networking, meeting people, and even if it's just a couple pieces of advice that you can take back, I think the biggest thing that people fail on is taking action after you learn something. You need to implement something. But like, I think the networking is the best that you can take away, but you have to be intentional and purposefully, you know, put yourself out there to make those connections. It's hard, it's awkward, but it's well worth it.
Yeah.
It's well worth it. So then you were at, so you owned a retail store for about 11 years. Yeah. At what point in time did you get into real estate and why?
So we got into real estate actually in 2005 when we purchased our first home. Was a original 1960s ranch. Like they had never touched it. So we live and flipped that and house hacked at the same time.
So you were renting as well? Really?
So we were just married couple. We rented out 3 rooms in our house.
Oh my gosh.
For like 4 years, like the first 4 years of our marriage, we had 3 roommates.
Strangers?
No, not really. Yeah, some of them were, some of them weren't. Oh. And then they became friends. Like, you know, back then Craigslist wasn't as sketchy. So like we'd get people off Craigslist and then they'd stay with us. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And did you have kids at the time then?
No. Yep. No? So when we had our son, our first, that was when we like ditched all the roommates. Yeah. So, and more for them than for us. Like I would have still had roommates, but like, I was like, people don't want to live with a baby. So. Yeah. So we kind of like started that way, like pretty much had our mortgage covered for 4 years, which allowed us to pay for the remodeling because we didn't have a lot of money. So it was the way that we, you know, afforded to flip the house. And we actually sold it in 2009. So like crash. Yeah. Granted, the Midwest wasn't as bad, but like the market just was like pretty stagnant. And we still made like, I think it was like $30,000 or $40,000 on that house.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and you didn't have a mortgage pretty much the entire time,
right?
You know, so you truly made more than that,
right? Yeah, it was amazing. And so then moved to Omaha at that time to locate the store here because I was going to open it in. So we were in Des Moines at the time. I was going to open it in Des Moines, and then someone else opened one like the same concept.
Yeah.
And there wasn't one here. So we decided, since we had both diaper service markets, that we would move it here. And we have, so all my family's in Des Moines, all my husband's family is in Omaha, Council Bluffs. So we're like, well, we have support in both places. So let's do it. So we sold the house, moved, actually got the opportunity to buy his grandma's home because she had passed away. So again, live and flipped that, made a good like chunk off of that, you know, moved into our now home. We've completely renovated that. So when we sell it, we have like, we probably have double the equity in it right now than what we bought it for. So that's kind of been a little strategy. And then we also have on the side during all this, like bought some short-term rental, or sorry, single family home, long-term rentals. I did fortune builders as well.
You did?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, back in 2014.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. No.
Ours was 2016.
2012.
Okay.
Because Weston, I remember it. So she was 3 months old when they came to town. Really? And for like that 3
hour, or you did the
3 day like conference all weekend, and so I had to take her, and I just wore her and like, you know, kept her during the whole thing, and that's how I remember it was 2000. Well, it was end of 2012 actually, because she was a baby, so newborn baby.
Oh my gosh!
So I did fortune builders. We learned like how to get homes with like seller financing, no minimal money down. So I think we bought our first couple rentals with like, one was like $1,000 down, and one was like $4,000 down.
Now, anybody listening to this, I mean, it sounds crazy that you can buy a house with little to no money down or very little money down, but you truly can. But you have to get creative. You have to think outside the box, and you have to build that relationship with the seller if they're willing to do the seller financing. Yeah. Because to a seller, it may sound a little scary, to be honest, especially if they don't understand it. But in all reality, they actually end up making more money than if they were to sell it outright too. Plus, they don't have to take those tax deductions in one lump sum, especially if they only own it for less than a year or whatever the case may be. They can take those that income over an extended period of time, whatever you guys negotiate. So just kind of wanted to fit that in there real quick, because it does sound, everybody's like, how can you do that? That's not real. It is,
and you have to have a little bit of money. I mean, it's not like, you know, we had to pay for the title company. We had to obviously put a little bit of money down. We had to pay for mailers to get these leads, to get these homes. So it's not like a $0 thing. Correct. But yeah, I mean, just like, you know, fortune builders, I feel like, you know, was it expensive? Yes. Especially for us at the time, with two, you know, a 3-year-old and a newborn baby and no retirement.
Oh, this makes me sound so good, because I was literally pregnant with Kason when I went to the 3-day thing. And then by the time we signed up for everything, I had him. So we were in the same situation. We had a 2-year-old and then a 1.5-year-old and then a brand new baby invested into fortune builders, had no money. The amount we invested was literally more than I made in a year. Right. And it was awful. Like, it was so stressful. But again, I don't regret it, because it was the best investment we could have made into ourselves to help get us where we're at, you know?
Yeah. So we learned so much from that. I mean, we could have learned even more had we like dug in deeper. We were a little overwhelmed with being landlords, not good at it, you know? So we were kind of like, God, we're going to have like at least 10 homes before we can get property management. And that's we just were like, oh, let's take a break. Yeah. So we sold our 3, at the time we had 3 single family rentals. We sold them all. And we're like, let's just take a break from real estate. And I focused on my store, grew it, moved it, grew it some more, you know. And then beginning of last year, we were like, okay, we got a little savings. Like, let's start buying real estate again. And long story short, I wanted to start looking for hotels that would make for a good apartment building. And I expanded my search to like a 5-state radius or like the 5 states kind of around Nebraska.
That you could drive to. For the most part.
I was like, oh, if it kind of connects to Nebraska, it's close enough that we can go check it out. And so I happened to find the one we ended up buying. There was 4 hotels in that town for sale. And so I was like, okay, this is either a red flag or they need housing, or a great
opportunity.
They don't need hospitality. They need housing. And that's exactly what the reality was.
So were you did you initially want to convert them into apartments, or were you just looking for a hotel? So you had full intentions of converting it into, okay.
Yep, because I was like, well, after COVID, you know, hotels are going to go for less money. People don't want them. They're not doing as well. But multifamily is always in demand, right? Like people need a place to live. So yeah, every full intention. And it kind of hit me when I was looking in our market for like multifamily that we could maybe pay cash for, or like, you know, get for 50% down and then rehab it and then, you know, cash out refi, kind of whatever. So I started looking and I found a 6-plex in Council Bluffs. That was only $125,000. And I was like, oh my God, like we can buy it, you know? So I started doing my numbers and the math and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. We can have, even if it was only like $500 a month in rent, I'm like, we can have 6 people pay us rent for less than what like we would ever pay for a single family home. You know what I mean? Like you can't even buy a single family home barely for $125,000. So I was like, why aren't we doing multifamily? Like why would we want single family rentals? Like this is really great. You know, like just the idea of it. I'm like $3,000 a month in rent, but it's only $125,000 house. You know what I mean? That was kind of the light bulb.
Moment.
And so then that's when I started looking for hotels and be like, and I honestly was looking for one in a price range that we could have the 25% down.
Okay. Yes.
Of our own. Well, when we got there to the town and saw that one, we were like, heck no, we are not buying this place. It was like a crack house. So the one we looked at and it was like twice the price. We're like, how are we going to buy this? And we just figured it out. Made it happen.
Well, and I think you went to the local lender and they really were like, yes, we need this. Like we will help you with the financing and maybe even some of the construction or something like that.
They were amazing. And I think, I mean, we didn't have a great net worth. Our credit was good. We had cash, you know, but like we had no experience with doing this. We had no, and for them to take that leap of faith on us to trust that, because they knew the community needed it so bad. And so the VP of the bank actually worked with us and she basically convinced the loan committee that we were a good bet. You know,
so she was betting on you guys. Big time. And I think like even like with the recession that we're kind of in now, where there comes a hard time or heartache comes great opportunity. And it's just taking advantage of it and taking on those risks. You have to be educated. You have to be smart about it. But really kind of taking advantage of the hard time that people are going through. There's so much great opportunity. Like you guys kind of jumped all over it when you found that hotels were struggling, and then you saw you found a town that really needed high demand of housing, and so then the local lender was all for helping you guys out.
And that's the thing. I'm all about jumping into these great ideas if for 2 things. If I know that I'm actually really low risk, it sounds risky, like, oh, let's go buy a hotel out of state. But if you saw the numbers on paper, like there was no risk. Like it was like I would have to really screw it up to not make money on this, you know? And then having an exit strategy.
You
know? So, I mean, that's kind of the key.
What is your exit strategy?
Well, for that, I mean, it was kind of like, well, if we're not leasing, like maybe we could rent them out as like short-term rentals or, you know, it's just kind of having that like, okay, what if they don't fill up? Like, what if, like, that's your biggest fear, especially if you've never done multifamily, to be like, how long is lease up going to take? What if people don't rent our rooms? Like, what can we do? Well, it's really close to a resort town. So I'm like, well, maybe we could get some short-term rentals and, we don't have to worry about that. It's fully occupied, thank God. And we have like a waiting list. And everyone signed 12-month leases, even though we didn't expect that. So
So do you have all the rooms renovated, you said?
Yep, it's done.
That's
As of May, it was done. And then so June, we were completely full.
And you have a property manager there. Managing everything. That is phenomenal. That is phenomenal. Did you stay within budget when it comes to your renovation costs?
We did not. But to my defense, I feel like it was because of the contractor we hired. He had an electrician on staff. So his electrical bid was really low. And then we fired him. So when we brought in a new contractor, the electrical bid was
quite a bit more.
4 times as high. But that was probably more realistic to the market. But we had gone off of the original quote, you know, and not off that. So ultimately, we were about $80,000 over budget.
Well, which honestly, in my opinion, is probably not too bad for the amount, the large project that it came into. You know, I don't know what the cost was, but I imagine it was pretty.
Of that 80, like 50,000 of it was electrical.
Really? So that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me at all. Electricals, well, and then plus the cost of material. Well, we had one that we renovated that just got done, you know, in April, and it was the same way. I mean, the cost of material, they bid us almost a year prior. So then, it was like 9 months, but then in that 9 months, they don't stockpile everything because
they don't buy it until they need it.
Which makes sense. They don't always have places to store it, and what if they don't move forward with it? So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of how our situation was, that we obviously went over, but that's kind of a given when you're doing construction, I swear.
Yeah.
But, So, yeah, I guess what's your next venture now?
So we just put in an offer yesterday on another hotel to renovate it into apartments.
Okay.
It's a much bigger property. So I will have a partner with me on this one.
Okay.
And I just pray that we get the offer accepted.
Is that kind of locally? I know you made, or is it in Nebraska?
It is not Nebraska.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
It's about 6 hours away from here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You find it online, I'm assuming?
This one, so I found another one. It's one of those things. Like, you just never know if you just take a look at things. But we had found another property in this town, went and did, like, you know, physical inspection of the building. It was on just online. It was just on market. Walked it multiple times, you know, kind of met a contractor there, had him do bids, like everything. And it ended up being just too big of a redevelopment based on how poor a condition that building was in for it to make sense with its size. Like it didn't have enough units to justify the construction cost.
Okay.
So, but while we were down there, we found this one and it was boarded up. And so we had a local agent kind of like do some investigating for us. Yeah. He found the bank that, or he found out that there was a bank foreclosing on it.
Oh my gosh.
He went and like met with the bank about like if they'd be willing to sell it after they owned it on foreclosure. And so they just called him on Friday and said, okay, we're going to put it on the market on Monday. And we put our offer in on Monday. So
did it go live then?
I don't think it did. He said as of yesterday, it still wasn't live.
Okay.
And he talked to the listing agent and they said they had told 2 other investors who had been also like hounding them about, like asking during the process. And they had not submitted offers yet. So I'm very hopeful that we get it.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yes, I hope you get it too. Absolutely. Absolutely. So you obviously have a lot going on and you sold your retail. Yep. Your husband works full-time as well, in addition to pretty much helping you full-time too with real estate, I'm sure. And then plus you have three kids. 3 kids.
Yep.
So you got 3 kids. So you're busy mom, busy parent.
Summer's killing me.
Oh gosh, it's awful.
Yeah.
It's so bad. It's like, oh my gosh, how do you keep up with life? But so yeah, we'll kind of, I appreciate you coming in. We're going to kind of wrap this up a little bit, but one thing that I like to ask everybody at the end is, what is one piece of advice that you have heard that has helped you in your professional career?
Definitely for me, it was out of the book called Profit First. And it's where you divide your money up into accounts to segregate your funds.
Let me write those down. Okay.
I mean, Profit
I need
First.
To be so much. I need to get better at it.
And it's like, okay, every month during my retail store, I would be like, oh my God, sales tax is due. How am I going to pay sales tax? You know, I'd like freak out about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it was never really my money. So on a weekly basis, I just started moving that money into my tax account because it wasn't my money, you know? And then sales tax came around and I had the money to pay it, you know? So it's one of those funny human psychological things where like if you move it out of that account and it's in other accounts and this is the account you can work from, you don't overspend.
So do you have a lot of different accounts for one business?
Every business I have has a minimum of 3 accounts.
Okay, that's good to know because I feel like I started going overboard. I didn't.
Accounts.
I haven't, but I'm like, I feel like I would if I started doing that. But so is it more like savings or are they all like checkings?
So I do one checking and then the other are savings. Just so
for each business or
for each account. So each so like my retail store had operating expenses, taxes, profit, debt, payroll, and it's called a holding account. So that's your account where all your money comes into.
Okay.
But nothing comes out of it.
Except you probably distribute it.
Right.
Like you don't pay anything out of it except you're just distributing it.
Just transferring it.
So that's all in the profit first account that you kind of picked up on that. I'm reading it. Definitely going to read it.
Yeah. And it's like, what it did for me is it created peace in my financial world.
I love it.
And then I'm like, oh, I really don't have money to buy inventory. What else can I do? You know, whereas before I'd be like, I'll just spend my sales tax money on inventory. Right. So like, it just kind of helps you be more disciplined to know like, this is my money. This is what I can work with.
Yeah.
And then be more resourceful to get more money if you don't have enough.
Do you ever accidentally pay for something out of the wrong account?
No.
Nope. I've done it.
It's all
I'm like,
set up.
oh my gosh.
It's all like everything's auto pay now and stuff too. Like once I had that system down and like didn't have to freak out about the money so much, then I could just pay each thing from where it was supposed to come from. And
That's good to know.
It just brought me so much peace.
Yeah.
So,
okay. All right. I'll have to read that profit first. So, okay. So, yeah. And then you also got your license here recently too.
I did.
Yeah, that's exciting.
About a month ago.
Yeah. But you're not actually helping people buy and sell, or maybe you will a little bit here and there.
I will here and there. Yeah. Just friends and family and, you know, investors that might want some help. But I almost bought a Airbnb last week with some friends, but they didn't accept our offer. So that would have been my first one. So.
Nice. Cool. Well, I can maybe kind of help with that if that ever comes up. But yeah, it's kind of a juggle. But no, I appreciate you coming in. Thank you for being here so much. So yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.